When he left, believing their bond could withstand the distance, she was already setting traps. Cold days in the wilderness, a battle for every step across frozen ground. He endured it all for the dream of a new beginning with her. But while he froze in the north, she was melting the ice in another man's bed. The home that had once been warm greeted him with the scent of indifference and a silence behind which foreign traces hid. One video, one trembling hand, one truth impossible to escape. The betrayal didn't come in a rush of passion, but in the ordinary lies, in the smiles behind closed doors. And when everything finally crumbled, only two were left, he and the one who had lost everything too. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watch this video. I value every one of your comments. So let's get started. Liam had always been a man led by his principles. So when the opportunity emerged to spearhead an environmental engineering project deep in the Alaskan wilderness, he immediately recognized the significance. It wasn't just another step forward in his career. It felt like a pivotal juncture. But the offer came with a heavy price. Saying yes meant months away from Alyssa, and the emotional weight of that decision pressed on him. Their relationship was already on uncertain ground. They had only recently begun to mend after a rocky chapter, and Liam held on to the belief that succeeding in Alaska might offer them both a renewed sense of clarity and healing. With that hope, he boarded the plane, clinging to the faith that their bond could survive the distance. The moment he landed in Anchorage, the job demanded his full attention. The landscape was brutal. The team was small, and simply reaching the job sites required helicopter trips and arduous hikes. Each choice carried risk. The project involved intricate work, water purification, environmental containment, field diagnostics, all in remote, unforgiving terrain where mistakes could be costly. Liam became the stabilizing force of the group. He knew that any misstep on his part could unravel the entire mission. Even under constant pressure, he managed to stay steady. During rare breaks, he would search for a weak signal, just enough to ping Alyssa a quick note. Occasionally, he got a call through. Sometimes all he could do was leave her a short voice message to let her know he was safe. At first, Alyssa replied warmly. She asked questions about his progress, sent little reminders of her affection, and shared moments from her daily life. Those messages were his lifeline. But slowly, something shifted. As days became weeks, her responses dwindled. The warmth faded. Instead of engaging replies, her words became clipped and routine. When he sent her photos or anecdotes about the freezing conditions, she viewed them in silence. Liam sensed something was changing, but he chose not to confront it. He convinced himself it was just the strain of distance or the emotional toll of their time apart. He crafted reasons to silence his doubts. One night, he called her, and she answered abruptly, saying she had to head out to meet someone, and hung up before he could tell her about a major success. Another time, when he expressed how much he missed her, her only reply was, "Take care." He stared at those words repeatedly, searching for feeling that wasn't there. Still, Liam remained hopeful that the miles between them were simply distorting reality. He told himself that once he came back, everything would begin to mend. He envisioned quiet dinners together, rebuilding the closeness they'd lost, like tending to a plant long deprived of sunlight. That vision carried him through the most exhausting moments. Then a crisis hit. A key sensor failed, and Liam spent 48 straight hours in the field, sleep-deprived, filthy, barely eating, but determined to fix the issue. All he wanted was to complete the project and return home with something to show for the sacrifice. When he finally got back to the base, he reached out to Alyssa. No answer. He tried again that evening. Still nothing. The next morning, she finally responded, "Sorry, fell asleep early. Everything okay there?" The hollowness of the message stunned him. No affection, no concern, just indifference. Liam felt himself slowly disappearing from her world, even as he struggled to stay tethered to it. As the project neared its end, the distance between them no longer felt metaphorical, it was palpable. Alyssa had grown unrecognizable in her detachment. She no longer opened up. She didn't ask when he'd return. There was no sign of anticipation. Still, Liam refused to give up. He arranged to have flowers delivered to her a day before he got home, including a note that read, "I'm coming back. Can't wait to see you." He hoped it might reignite something, a memory, a spark. When his flight touched down in San Diego that Sunday morning, anticipation surged within him. He dropped off a small gift at his parents' place, then went straight to the house, picturing Alyssa waiting, maybe crying, maybe laughing. What he found was startlingly mundane. She greeted him with a reserved smile, said a simple hi like she was addressing a neighbor, then turned away and walked inside. Liam followed, his suitcase in hand. The house smelled familiar, but everything else felt foreign. That night they shared a bed, but the emotional chasm was vast. Liam pretended not to notice, telling himself she might just need time to reacclimate. Over the next 2 days, they moved around each other like roommates, speaking only when necessary. The reunion he had longed for felt like a ghost. Alyssa, the woman he had missed so deeply, seemed absent, even as she stood beside him. She was quiet, distant, unreachable. Liam began combing through their old messages, rereading each one like a detective, wondering where things had started to slip. He thought back to the final days before his departure, searching for any overlooked sign. Everything pointed to a transformation that had happened in his absence. What once felt like a victory in his professional journey was now revealing itself as a profound loss in his personal life. And what Liam didn't yet understand was that Alyssa's silence wasn't just emotional. There was a reason, a face, a location. And soon he would learn them both. While he braved bitter nights in defense of delicate ecosystems, another figure crossed the road toward the house that, for years, had been the axis around which his world revolved. What shattered everything wasn't fate or misstep, it was choice, a conscious betrayal, and it changed everything. Liam was rinsing the last of the breakfast dishes when a trio of firm knocks broke the stillness of the morning. They rang out with certainty, measured, direct. Drying his hands on a dish towel, he moved toward the door, expecting a delivery or a neighbor. But when he turned the knob, he found Camille, his neighbor of more than 8 years, standing on the porch. Camille, who had always been gracious, ever present at barbecues, birthdays, and community get-togethers. A steady, reliable friend. Yet the woman before him looked unfamiliar. Her complexion was drained, her eyes dark with exhaustion, and her grip on her phone was rigid, tense. "Is Alyssa out?" she asked without preamble. "She left maybe 20 minutes ago," Liam said, eyebrows furrowed in confusion. Without further explanation, Camille stepped past him and quietly shut the door. "I found something," she said tightly, "and I won't soften it. You need to see this." She crossed to the sofa, unlocked her phone, and handed it to him. A video began to play. It was shot from a first-person perspective, Camille's own. The footage captured her moving through her house late at night. The camera wavered slightly but remained focused. She climbed the stairs slowly, with deliberate care. Muted sounds drifted from the bedroom, a mix of voices and laughter. Camille inched the door open. What the video revealed brought everything to a standstill. Alyssa, Liam's wife, lay in bed with Mitchell, Camille's husband. The two were laughing quietly, entwined beneath a single sheet, utterly at ease, as if they had every right to be there. But they didn't. That was Camille's bed, Camille's sanctuary. Liam could only stare. His body went still. His eyes locked on the screen. The recording continued, but its content blurred in his mind. His wife, in that bed, with the man next door, and across from him, Camille, wounded, burning with betrayal. She retrieved the phone, her expression composed but quivering beneath the surface. "I had a feeling for a while," she said. "Mitchell started staying out late, always had some excuse. Strange calls, sudden silences. I needed proof. So I told him I was going to my mom's, said my sister was injured and needed help. He didn't question it." She began to pace, her breaths shallow. "I actually stayed with Lauren, across the street. She has a guest room in the back. I kept the lights off and waited. I had a perfect view of my house from there. Saturday night, I saw Alyssa walk out of yours and head straight into mine. No hesitation. She didn't knock, just walked in. The door was unlocked. Like it was normal." Camille's voice cracked. "I gave it 5 minutes. Then I went in through the back, phone in hand, quiet, stealthy. I climbed the stairs." She paused, fighting for control. "And I saw them, there, laughing, like none of this mattered." She stopped pacing. Her gaze met Liam's, eyes swollen and bloodshot, but unblinking. "I couldn't let you find out any other way. You deserved to hear it from me." Liam remained silent. There were no words. Everything that had been a question was now painfully clear. Alyssa's growing distance, her coldness, her indifference. The truth didn't offer relief. It only added weight. This wasn't just infidelity. It was a betrayal of something sacred. Alyssa had broken more than vows. She had violated trust, not only with Liam, but with Camille, who had once treated her like family, almost like a sister. Camille had lost her husband. Liam had lost everything else. And in the hollow stillness of that living room, only the wreckage bound them. Two people left behind in the collapse. Camille left soon after, her phone and grief in tow, but what she had shown him remained. Raw, undeniable proof of the moment everything broke. Liam sat frozen through the rest of the morning, adrift in a sea of emotion with no shore in sight. There was no manual for this kind of heartbreak. All he understood was that something essential inside him had fractured, and all he could do now was try to remain standing amidst the ruins. Alyssa returned around 6 in the evening. Her manner was unnervingly calm, as if she had already accepted what was coming. Liam sat motionless on the couch, phone in hand, not looking at it. She paused in the doorway before stepping inside. She said nothing. Just glanced at him, exhaled quietly, and moved toward the kitchen. She opened the fridge, pulled out a water bottle, and walked back to the living room. She drank slowly, in silence. Liam watched her, but stayed quiet. There was nothing left to ask. They both knew, and somehow that was enough. Alyssa finally broke the silence. "Camille came over today." Liam gave a slight nod. "I thought she might," she said softly, staring at the floor. "I knew it was only a matter of time." He didn't respond. Her admission carried no surprise. It was as if the conversation had already occurred without words. Alyssa slipped away to the bedroom. She remained there for over half an hour. Liam listened to the faint sounds filtering through the quiet house, drawers easing open, fabric rustling as it was neatly folded, the soft zip of suitcases being closed. Each sound struck like a hammer against the fragile remnants of a life that had once felt whole. When Alyssa returned to the bedroom, she carried 2 medium suitcases, a backpack slung over her shoulder, and her coat draped over one arm. Her eyes were puffy, though no longer wet with tears. Her steps were slow, deliberate. "I don't have anything to say that will make this hurt less," she said, her voice low. "Not for you, not for me. But thank you. For not yelling. For not tearing me apart. For letting me leave with whatever dignity I have left." Liam's expression didn't change. He wasn't looking for closure. He only wanted finality. Alyssa saw the resignation in his eyes and didn't try to say more. She turned toward the door, hesitated for a brief moment to collect herself, and then walked out without a backward glance. As soon as she left, something in the room shifted. The air felt lighter, as if the house had exhaled. Her departure was visible in every empty spot where her belongings had been. But the real void wasn't physical. It lived in the fractured trust, in the silence of a door closing without the promise of return. Across the street, Camille stood behind her window, watching. She had known Alyssa was leaving, just as she'd known Mitchell had gone days earlier. Now, two homes stood as quiet ruins of what once had been love, relationships unraveled by the same careless choices. In the days that followed, Liam tried to grow accustomed to the silence. The emptiness didn't feel freeing, it echoed with solitude. Her dresses no longer lined the closet. Her scent had vanished from the bathroom counter. The sandals once left near the front door were gone. Every missing object seemed louder than the last, shouting in absence. Still, he didn't wish for any of it back. Alyssa didn't try to reach out. There was nothing left to salvage. She knew that too. The affair with Mitchell had stopped being a lapse in judgment long before Camille found out. When Liam returned from Alaska, Alyssa already sensed the truth would surface eventually. What she hadn't anticipated was Camille documenting every detail. Nor had she imagined Liam would choose quiet acceptance over rage. That silence cut her deeper than any accusation might have. Liam began sleeping on the far side of the bed, more out of muscle memory than grief. Her absence no longer stung the way it did at first. What lingered was the image of Alyssa and Mitchell, laughing behind his back. The secret closeness they shared, the betrayal executed with clinical precision in a friend's home. That, perhaps, was the cruelest part, the deliberate nature of it all, knowing full well the destruction it would cause. A week after Alyssa left, Camille knocked on his door holding an apple pie. She said she couldn't stand eating dinner alone anymore and needed someone to sit with. They sat together on the porch, sharing pie in silence. They spoke briefly about work, utilities, the daily things that march on despite heartbreak. And in that moment, quiet, tired, and strangely comforting, something small began to grow. It wasn't loneliness pulling them together, but a shared understanding of pain that didn't need to be spoken. And it started simply with a pie. Not long after, Camille appeared again, unannounced, carrying another pie. She said the walls of her house still carried Mitchell's voice, still clung to the echo of empty apologies. She couldn't breathe there anymore. Liam didn't question her. He just sliced the pie, poured 2 coffees, and set them on the table. They ate with few words, their thoughts drifting, but lighter somehow in each other's company. Camille's presence felt natural, unforced, honest. Liam hadn't realized how deeply he had craved that ease. Over the following days, she came more often, sometimes with home-cooked meals, sometimes just to talk. They spoke of everything but Alyssa and Mitchell, as though those two had already faded from their story. Their attention turned toward piecing together a quiet rhythm without the burden of expectation. Then one evening, as they sat side by side on the porch with warm mugs in hand and their legs stretched out, Camille glanced at him with a thought. "What if we finalized our divorces at the same time? Same day even," she said, eyes fixed on the horizon. "It probably sounds odd, but maybe it makes sense." Liam didn't think it strange. He thought it felt right. "Let's do it," he replied simply. They went together to the courthouse to set the date. Walked out with the paperwork signed and a time set. Monday at 9 in the morning. It would mark the end of 2 separate stories, both closing in a similar silence. In the days before the appointment, life continued in small, tender ways. They kept seeing one another. Shared moments that felt light, even joyful, like the afternoon they rescued a lost dog and spent hours returning it, or when Camille brought an old photo album and they laughed until their sides hurt. When the day arrived, they dressed plainly. Not in mourning, but not in celebration either. It was the ending of something once meaningful and the release of a grief that had long run its course. They walked into the courthouse side by side, fingers lightly touching. Some people stared out of curiosity. Others politely looked away. But to Camille and Liam, only one thing truly mattered now: each other. They sat on opposite sides of the room, each shielded by their respective lawyers, silently finalizing the last of the paperwork. Liam never once turned his head toward Alyssa. She was there, but only in body. The fire that had once fueled her resolve was gone, leaving a shell quietly completing a process she had once set in motion, but now seemed barely tethered to. Not far off, Mitchell avoided even a glance in Camille's direction, his face a portrait of sorrow too deep to disguise. These pairs, entwined once in a covert romance, now found themselves isolated, confronting the consequences of their hidden choices. It felt as though fate had returned to collect its due, exacting a quiet but brutal price for the betrayal they once embraced. When the signatures were done and the papers neatly stacked, Liam encountered Camille by the front desk. She extended her hand. He accepted it without hesitation. Together they stepped through the exit just as they had arrived, walking side by side. No parting words, no dramatic pauses, no look behind. Alyssa lingered where she stood, observing them from a distance. She tried to hold her expression steady, but the image of them moving in quiet harmony hit her with a force she didn't bother to conceal. Mitchell stood silently in the corridor, his back pressed against the wall. His eyes followed the pair, and in that moment of stillness, it seemed he finally understood the full weight of what he had lost, and the truth that it had never truly been his in the first place. Outside, the sunlight remained unshaken. The world moved forward, untouched. But within Liam and Camille, something fundamental had changed. They had drawn a line under the past, and in its place, something tentative yet genuine had begun to form. It wasn't born of reckless passion or bitterness. It emerged from something rare, earned respect. From the outside, it looked uncomplicated, and that, in fact, was the very thing that made it real. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.